Another furnishings I need is the shades for these light bulbs. See these light bulbs here? I need to get shades that just kind of pop onto them because of the glare. Okay, so I have some goals I'm setting, and in a previous video I also mentioned how I only want to get furniture that is in a comfortable category until, for the stages of readjusting into having a home. So I've been living homeless for 12 years, or close to 15. Was a few different housing programs I was in, so it's, in a range from 12 to 15 years, okay? But anyways, I got these Buddhas. See, there's my Buddha there. I have one here, and it's made of porcelain, and I meditate with it because it is breakable. See, this is a very wise thing to do. I meditate on it because this is yet breakable. It is yet possible for me to go homeless again. So I want to handle my life with care, the way I should, and not break my Buddha. So I'm progressing, with and I mentioned in a previous video, there's these brackets. In the first year, I only want furniture that I can easily move into a storage room myself, and then once we have a renewed lease, I've become a little bit more confident that I'm going to continue to live here. So at that point, I'm going to get other kinds of furniture. Well, now I'm in the third quarter of the lease, and at the end of the third quarter, we're going to have an interview or a meeting with the, ICANN, that's the housing program I'm a part of, and the landlords, and we're going to renew the lease at the end of the third quarter. That way, we'll know. We're going to have a meeting to sign the lease. And so at that point, we'll know whether we're going to have a lease, a renewed lease or not. If we don't have the renewed lease, then that gives me 3 months to prepare to move out. If we, so it's very wise to do it that way. I'm glad we are. And so we're in the third quarter, and then sometime in January, I believe, is the end of the third quarter, and we're going to have a meeting and renew the lease. The landlord did visit the property to do some yard work recently, and he sent me a message on my phone, a text message saying I need to replace the air filters. So we had a chance to talk a little bit, and he expressed me. He told me, we hope that you live here for many years, Taffy, and that was very, very nice of him, very kind of him. I'm going to talk a little bit more about Dave and Catherine White because there is a history they have with my family, and they came back into my life in this lifestyle package for a reason. Okay, so I'm going to talk about how their last name is White, and my last name is Rogers now. It used to be White, though. My last name used to be White. My name was David White. Then there was a flux in time. I was persecuted by my grandma. She would make me sew rags together and go to public schools. Our name became Rogers, Raggers Rogers, because of her persecution, okay? That is the truth, though. This is a persecution that has been done before in the story of Snow White. Does reflect that, okay? Snow White gets to wear rags because she's persecuted by her mom, okay? But in this story, this was her stepmother, okay? And so there's the name White, and then there's the name Rogers, which has to do with family rejection, and that's the truth behind the name Rogers, though. It has that etymology. Is raggers. That's what the name comes from. So we're going to talk more about that because there are things in my life that reflect that people actually want me to have a home. Okay? I'm fairly confident that the people at ICANN want me to have a home. I'm fairly confident that the landlords want me to have a home. This is very good for my mind and my heart and my well-being. Okay? All right, so I'm going to talk more about that. I just wanted to mention the categories of furniture that I'm comfortable with, as, time moves on. At first I'm not comfortable with this because what if the scenario does happen, and I do go homeless? I don't want a heavy-duty work table to put into storage yet, but it's down the road. I do want this piece of equipment for down the road, and I'm becoming more and more confident that I'll go ahead and get it sometime. But anyways, I'm going to let you know what I already got. One thing that I got is a brass microscope. This is brass. There is a reason why it is brass. Okay? In an earlier video, I showed you my plants outside and how they were sick. I have these vague memories, okay, as a child, before a flux in time. We would take samples of our sick plant leaves, and we would put them in between glass, and then we would study them in microscopes. Our activity rooms also had a library. There's the library of the regular home, of the rest of the home, but then there's also the different kind of library that activity rooms had. And we would look up information, and we would study the sick plant, and we would even, chemically, scientifically, develop a cure for the disease right here in our activity rooms, Okay, in our activity rooms. We used to do this before a flux in time. I also want to mention there is a reason why it is brass. There is a very spiritual reason. You may want to consider, if you have an activity room, and or even if you don't, that you want to get brass. Okay, there's something about wood and brass that is very spiritual, and it is also strategic. When considering how we are deadlocked and our lives resume and we have fluxes in time, there is a reason why you want brass instruments, and also wooden furniture. It's very strategic, okay? You can also look at my hourglass. See here, this is filled with a fluid. From what I understand, this is water at this time. However, this here, the hourglass part of it, does not have water. This is all dry air with sand. So we could flip it over. See, and the sand falls down, and the hourglass goes up. So from here to here is a measure of time, and also from here to here is a measure of time. Okay, there are such things that the fluid is a different kind of fluid, and it takes longer, and the time that it takes to get up here is a perfect measure of time. See, but there also are temperature variables to consider when considering hourglasses like this. This is important, because this has to do with something. It has to do with something very special. I also want to let you know that I got a ham radio. H-A-M, ham like you cook in the oven and you have for dinner sometimes. Ham radio. This is a ham radio. And attached to it I have a mouthpiece like this. I could clip it onto my shoulder and, I have a ham radio. I am in an area that is kind of somewhat rural. It's not very rural, though, but it's somewhat rural. I mean, it's quite a ways to Canton that way, and it's quite a ways to Massillon that way, which are the nearby two cities. But, this is a smaller, area. The Perry Township is a smaller township. And it's just, there's a practical reason to have this on hand in case there's a power outage or, some emergency. But there's also a very practical reason to have it anyway. emergency. I hope not to ever need to use it for emergencies, but I could even communicate with my friend Les Jones in Santa Monica, California someday. I have to connect this signal to a repeater, a nearby repeater, and then I could talk with people more distantly. Okay, so I'm at this time, just kind of gradually doing things. Okay, so on to my next video.